Hello everyone and welcome to the second episode of Versus. This is where I take two Rainbow Six Siege operators, put them up against each other, and see which one is better in my opinion. Again, this is not to say that the operator that I choose is specifically the best one, but this is the operator that I personally see as the one that works in more situations than the other one. These two, since I did an attacking operators last time, I'm going to be doing two defending operators this time. Again, these are, to just quickly go over it, these are two operators that work similarly and have similar jobs, but have completely different methods of doing so. Today I'm going to be looking at two intelligence operators that are going to be the ones that are going to gather a lot of intelligence for you, being Valkyrie and Echo. Let's get into the video. Starting off with, so let's start off quickly with their loadouts. Starting off with Valkyrie. Valkyrie is a 2 armor, 2 speed operator. Unlike most other, unlike most other operators who are a 3 armor operator, she is actually a bit faster than them, but a bit slower than the 1 armor operator. Because since she is the mid round, that means that she can move quickly, but she cannot take as many bullets. Her loadout consists of a submachine gun and a shotgun. Her submachine gun, the MPX, is a very decent gun, having decent fire rate as well as having enough damage to support it, and in most cases having very good recoil control, with the added benefits of having an under barrel attachment, being like any grips, a laser sight, a barrel attachment, or an optic. For her shotgun, the Spaz 12, it's a semi-auto shotgun. This can have a laser sight or an optic as well, and can be very much kind of spammed in the way that it works. It is interesting to note that it is a semi-auto shotgun. This comes with a few negatives as opposed to a pump action shotgun. A pump action shotgun tends to have more damage on the effective environment, whereas a semi-auto shotgun tends to not. Again, you can just fire it out as much, but with the added benefit of having more fire rate than a pump action. For her secondary, and yes, she only has one, she has the D50. The D50 is basically the Desert Eagle and can only have a laser sight. This Desert Eagle does a huge amount of damage, but has a huge recoil and very limited ammo. You could easily find yourself accidentally spamming this and then eventually looking up at the corner of the room on accident. Be advised that this does take you have to be very accurate in order to get the most out of this gun. For her final deployable gadget, she has either a deployable shield or a nitrocell. I would have to give the edge to the nitrocell, as not many operators have them currently, and it can be used as basically a 2-stage grenade, where you throw it out and you have a detonator that you detonate it by hitting the button again. But even so, there is a few interesting things to note about the nitrocell really quickly. The nitrocell kit has a very interesting, weird arc to it, so it doesn't always land where you're trying to actually land it. And again, it's a little bit heavier than your standard grenade, so it's going to not go as far as you might think it will. With all that being said, let's move on to Echo. Echo is a 3 armor, 1 speed operator, meaning that he is not as fast as Valkyrie, but in more often cases he can take a bit more damage than her because of his armor abilities. This also means he is a bit louder than the more stealthily operated 2 armor and even more stealth 1 armor operators. His SMG is the MP5SD. This is a silenced SMG with an integrated silencer. Yes, the silencer is integrated, meaning that you cannot put any barrel attachments, nor can you take the silencer off. But it is interesting to note that you can put a laser sight as well as a grip underneath it, and you can have optics on top, including an ACOG sight. This is interesting to note, as not a lot of defending operators can actually have an ACOG sight on their guns. Moving on to his secondary, it is the pump action Supernova. The Supernova can have a laser sight or an optic as well, and is pump action. This means it does a bit more damage to the environment than a semi-auto shotgun, at the loss of having less fire rate than a semi-auto gun. This is not bad, however, as it does sound very awesome and can easily wipe away most people if you know what you're doing. For his secondary, he has a pistol as well as a sidearm SMG. The sidearm SMG is the Bearing 39. It cannot have any grips, but it can have a barrel, a laser sight, or an optic. This is a very good and sturdy gun all around. Again, it's mainly used as a fallback secondary gun, but can also be used as a good primary gun because of its modest to good damage. For his pistol, well, it is nothing to write home about. It is still awesome to think about because it can also have a laser sight or a barrel attachment as well. Again, while not as good as his SMG in my opinion, it does have its place as a good kind of sidearm to fall back to. And again, it does sound really cool. For his final gadget for his final deployable gadget, he actually can have a choice of either the deployable shield or barbed wire. In most situations, this is a kind of pick your poison type thing, but I'm going to give the edge to the deployable shield as it worked really well with his ability, which I'll get into later. So, with all that being said, let's get into their abilities, again, starting with Valkyrie. Valkyrie has her black eye cameras. These are cameras with a sticky adhesive to one side. These sticky cameras can be stuck to ceilings, walls, or floors, anywhere that it can basically stick to. They can even be deployed outside and will still function as normal cameras. A few interesting differences between his normal camera and the Valkyrie cameras is that the Valkyrie cameras actually only have a blue hue over them, meaning that they are in color and you can see a lot more clearly, as opposed to the normal cameras, which are mainly black and white. You can ping on these cameras as well, and most of them and pretty much all of them can be used. It is also interesting to note that they are completely black and can only show a blue light when they are actually being used, as opposed to the red light of, well, you know, the normal cameras. They can, of course, be shot out and can be detected by IQ and Twitch and can be taken out as such, even with Thatcher's grenades. Even though this doesn't happen often, it still can happen. Moving on to Echo's drone. Echo has the one single yokai drone. This is a drone that can be deployed out and can fit anywhere a standard drone can, and can even move as fast as a normal drone. Again, this is interesting to note this is interesting to know that it can be taken out as such, just as easily as any other electronic in the game. One shot from a pistol, a quick shock from her thing, but the Thatcher's EMP grenades work in a different manner. If the yokai drone is caught within the radius of the Thatcher grenade, this does not immediately take it out. All it really does is have the drone drop to the floor and become uncloaked. When you hit the button to actually jump, the drone sticks to the ceiling. It does have a limited range on how high it can jump, so if you jump up through a hatch to see the upper floor really quickly or do a quick peek, this is a viable tactic. Again, this is running the risk that you are actually going to have the drone destroyed rather than getting any intel out of it. Again, this is very quick, and so you need to be able to know where the person is and run the heck away. You do only get the one drone and you don't get the two, but again, that is a very good balancing issue, as if you had more than one drone, you would be a little bit more careless with the drone. The yokai drone, when it's stuck to the ceiling, after a second or two, will actually turn invisible, and the only way to really spot it is if you actually see a kind of shininess up the top. Again, that is only to spot it with your eyeballs. If you have an IQ, the IQ can actually detect it via even if it's invisible on the roof or wherever. Moving on from that, other thing that the drone can do is that it actually has a special ability where it can hit the person. Any successful hit, when the icon around the little circle thing, reticle, is red, any successful hit with this will make the person disoriented. This will either make them run away or just have them stay put. When the person is disoriented, their vision kind of squints in and makes it a little bit harder to hear, and if they move around, the effect is enhanced and they can't really focus. This works best when the enemy is trying to push a position and you, in the end, see them coming. It can also be a good place to provide the necessary intel for your other teammates. However, only you can access the drone, which is a very interesting distinction from Valkyrie's cameras. It is a few interesting things to note about his Echo drone is that it actually has infinite ammo, but it only has 3 shots that it can do consecutively. Once those 3 shots are used, you have a few second cooldown before you can actually use it again. And also, another interesting thing to note is that when you actually use the drone to cause the Echo pulse and to cause a successful disorientation, it does reveal its location for a brief amount of time. This means that it becomes uncloaked and everyone can see it if they are looking for it. It somehow is a bit easier to see it when you are disoriented, but again, doesn't happen often, so as long as you catch the person off guard, you should be able to get them to retreat. So, with all that being said, let's get into my personal opinion on which one is better, Valkyrie or Echo. And if it wasn't clear by this, I'm going to go with Echo. Again, this is very close. This was an extremely close matchup, as both operators operate in very distinct and similar manners. Because they both provide good intelligence with the team and comboed well with other operators, they can easily dominate the field. With Valkyrie's cameras, you can get a lot more intel, because having even one extra camera up could provide vital intel if it's in a good high-traffic location. Whereas if Echo's drone is still around and Echo is still alive, that means that you can get a successful, you can actually stop a successful push. It's also interesting to note that Echo's drone can stop any animations, that being planting the diffuser, or even planting a thermite charge or a regular breaching charge. This again stops the animation for a few seconds and can even also stop Monty from using his extendable shield for a short duration. It causes him to stop using his shield and undeploy it. This can be very good when dealing with a pesky Montagne as the last one. Again, you could also accomplish the same thing with some other operators, such as Smoke or Bandit or etc. And again, in that situation, it really tends to vary. In my own personal opinion, however, between Echo and Valkyrie, I would choose Echo because of his various ways and the way that he works. The interesting thing to note, finally, about these two operators is that they are both DLC operators, so price was not a variant when I was considering this. Again, as I said before, between Echo and Valkyrie, it was a very close match, but I prefer Echo just a slight bit more than Valkyrie because of, even though his camera can be locked in place, if he is dead, if he is alive, his camera can be everywhere and nowhere at the same time. It can also do a similar thing, as I mentioned in the last video, to Blitz, where it's both an attack as well as both good attack as well as a good defense. Again, this is just my personal opinion. If you have your own personal opinions of which one should have actually won this, leave them down in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching, and a peace off.